Hello, welcome. It is day 3 of the Thriving in Isolation workshop. I'm Becky and I'm continue to be your host all of this week. And now we're going to learn how to connect yourself with others. So forming awesome connections. And starting to answer that question, where do I belong? This is a really important question. You'll remember I talked on the first day, the 3 pillars. That middle pillar is the where do I belong? So belonging requires us to have authentic connections. It means connecting with ourselves, which is what we were talking about yesterday. It's connecting with faith. It's connecting with God. It's connecting with nature, connecting with others, and connecting with our meaning and purpose. So connecting is essential to thriving and not just surviving in life. It is especially important during a period like this where we're in isolation, is we need to find good ways to connect. We need to be much more creative in how we do that right now, but it's really important if you want to thrive through this time that you pay some attention to how you're connecting. And so we're going to talk now about how we're all interconnected. We are connected to other people in our family, we are connected to our community, and to the greater world around us. So start thinking about what are the quality of the relationships that you have in your life, and what are the roles that you have in those relationships. Where do we belong or fit in the world? In what settings do we feel most at home? And here we also have to consider the ripple effect and be able to take a look and see how our actions impact the world around us. We've all seen that analogy of the pebble being dropped into the water, and you can see the ripple effect from that one action. And so it is really important as we're thinking about how we're connected to the world that we remember that whatever we do has a ripple effect around the people around us. And so keeping that in mind, that's one of the reasons why it's so important that we try to make good decisions, because that is going to impact others. And if we are doing positive things in our lives, that positivity is going to reflect out and ripple out into the lives of others around us. So I want to dive into this area of the connection to faith, God, and nature. And, I recognize that we have people that are joining us that are from different faith backgrounds. And like I mentioned before, I come from a Christian background, so I'm going to speak to that just briefly here. And so for people that come from a Christian faith background, Ephesians 1 is a really great passage to help us to understand what our Christian identity is, and what our position before God is as being people who belong to Him. And fully accepted by Him. It talks about how God accepts us and we belong to Him. In Corinthians is another passage that's really important in understanding that connection to God and to others. Corinthians 12 verses 12 to 27 talks about being part of a body. And each one of us has our own unique strengths and our own unique roles. And there's an interdependence. Interdependence is a really key point when we're talking about connecting. We have to rely on the many members that make up the whole. And we can see that in a spiritual sense when we're talking about faith. We can also see that when we just look in the natural world around us and how we're connected to others. And so this is that connection. It's as a whole, as a collective, belonging to God, but then also individually. So I really encourage you just to take some time. You can go in and read those passages if you want, but take some time to connect with your faith, whether that's a Christian faith, whether that's another faith background, but connect through some quiet time, some prayer and meditation. Spend some time reading the Bible or other sacred texts of whatever faith background you're from. Connect with spiritual teachers and mentors. Obviously through the use of technology at this time. And I can't help but think what a blessing it is to live in an age when we can do that. When we look back over previous pandemics, they didn't have this technology to use. And so if people wanted to connect with other people, it was writing a letter, and it may be weeks or months. And that was even if someone was there to deliver the letter. So people were much more isolated. And so we're very fortunate we don't have to experience that kind of isolation. We can still connect. The next point is connecting with nature. Most indigenous cultures around the world have a really deep connection with the earth itself, with the natural world, and they find their connection to the creator through that created world. And the earth provides us with all that we need to live. But in our industrial Western culture, with our big cities, there's many of us who have had very little opportunity to really connect with nature. So that's another point, is I really want to encourage you to take some time to connect with the natural world. Notice it's springtime here in Ontario. I know that other areas still have snow, but very soon there's going to be some spring flowers coming up. Take some time to really appreciate those. Notice as there's new buds on the trees, and notice how they are showing us that the earth is still alive and well. Grow a plant in your home or plant a garden. Go and watch the birds in your backyard, or the squirrels, or if you live in an area where you see other forms of wildlife, whether that be rabbits or skunks or raccoons or big game, whatever those animals are that are around where you live. Just take the time to appreciate them. If you're a hunter, take the time to appreciate the animal for giving its life. If you have pets, take the time to enjoy them and care for them. And now let's talk about your connection with others. And this is where the real meat of what we're going to talk about today is what it means to really belong. So the need to belong is fundamental to the human experience. We need to feel significant. We need to feel cared for by others, and that others like you for who you are. We all want to know that others like us as ourselves, and not just that mask that we might be putting up. And so when we think about what's the difference between loneliness versus belonging, loneliness has a very negative impact on our lives. It impacts our well-being. It results in poorer physical health, poorer mental health, poor emotional health, and poor spiritual health. And we contrast that with this sense of belonging, which really is the opposite of loneliness. And it is vital to our well-being. It results in less stress, better physical health, better brain function, and better personal growth. Some of you may be familiar with Brene Brown, and she's a sociology professor in the States. And she says, those who have a strong sense of love and belonging have the courage to be imperfect. She talks a lot about vulnerability and being able to be authentic, and it takes courage to show our true selves to others. So we all need a tight-knit, close group of people around us, people that accept one another and support each other and share in each other's joy and have each other's backs when we're in times of need or weakness. And that might be your family. It might be a group of friends. It might be a team that you're a part of. Or, some people might call that a tribe, finding a tribe. We need to be part of a social group. That's part of being human. We want to feel like we are a part of something, to be accepted as part of a group, to feel the security of knowing that others are there for us and that we're there for them. People we genuinely care for, and people that we have some commonality with. So through authentic belonging, we experience these feelings of acceptance and love and connection and meaning and purpose, inclusion, kinship, and much more. And now it's also important to note that belonging it's not about fitting in, which a lot of us mistake for belonging. Belonging is about being accepted for who we are. But sometimes that desire to belong, combined with a fear of being rejected, can lead us to a place where we start trying to conform in order to fit in. And it's like we put on a mask, or we're conforming to fit in with other people, but that keeps us from living as our authentic selves. So fear of rejection makes it seem impossible to take that mask off. Especially when we've been wearing the mask for a while, it starts to become our safety zone. And when we try to take that mask down, that fear that those people that we know may reject us if they knew what was really going on for us, if they knew the our true selves. And it's true, yes, some people will reject you, and that's okay. Because the quality of your relationships where you do find acceptance will be so much richer because of it. And so we really need to be aware when we start having this fear of rejection that yes, it is true that some people are going to reject us, and it is okay that some will reject us. Because if we want to be free to be our authentic selves, we need to be able to take that risk. Because when we take it, people that do accept us are going to fill us and give us so much more sense of satisfaction. So I want you to really take some time and evaluate the quality of the relationships that you have, the quality of your connections, and notice who the people are in your life that you really feel at home with, the people that accept you. Think about the place where you feel like you belong. Now, is that with your family? Is it with your friends? Maybe you're part of a social group where you have a common interest or a common goal. And so think about those people and take some time to nurture those relationships. So what makes a meaningful connection? Let's think about that for a minute. So meaningful connections they're not limited to just your deepest relationships, but you can make a connection with people in any interaction. Meaningful connections consist of support, positivity, honesty, compassion, and respect. You can create space for personal connections or bonding over shared experiences. So you might be supporting a friend who suffered a loss, or helping an elderly neighbor with their shopping, or maybe you're providing a little bit of encouragement or saying thank you to the person at the checkout in the grocery store because they are risking themselves for us right now. And you can increase your opportunities for meaningful connections by one, being intentionally available. So when other people initiate a conversation, just being present and being ready to connect with them. We can make that effort in everything that we do, in any kind of interaction we have with people. It's being intentionally available. The second one is ask open-ended questions. So when there's some doors open to have a conversation, ask open questions to open that door further so that you can allow other people a space to share. And be a good listener. Allow other people the space to be heard.